Greetings everybody, welcome to another video. This is going to be a little bit of a ranty, angry video in the later parts, but I'm going to try and keep it kosher as much as I can. So bear with me, let's get started. And starting off, I'm going to do my shameless promotion today. My shameless promotion. And just so you know, my microphone is right in front of me. It's picking up everything that it can. You want to buy me a new mic? Please do. If not, whatever. But AGDQ is on. AGDQ, one of my favorite weeks of the year, and I would feel like I would be doing a bit of a disservice and just shout out the Yeti, which is one of my favorite things to help support awesome games done quick, and the Prevent Cancer Foundation, which is a great foundation. Cancer has touched people in my lives, and it probably has touched other people too in their lives. So supporting the research, I think, is really, really important. There's a lot of bad going on in the world, so if you can do a little bit of good as a video gamer, that's good. And if you're going to spend that money on Wotive instead, I don't know, maybe smack yourself in the face and rethink about your priorities or whatever. Sorry to be a little bit crass, but true. This is what I want to talk about, though. There's some really cool merchandise. I mean, there are some awesome Rockman shirts. There's a Kirby shirt this year, Alan Wake 2, awesome Mario music looking shirt. That's really cool. And neat Zelda shirt. But I want to shout out this one because, hey, this is a Final Fantasy channel, and this is one of the coolest things ever. So the Yeti doing their AGDQ shirts, only available for this week, and they disappear. $6 from the total 18. Basically, the profits from this are going towards supporting Prevent Cancer Foundation. So pretty cool. I want to shout out Don Ho. I hope I said that name right. You did an absolutely awesome Genova shirt. If you're a Final Fantasy person, Final Fantasy 7 person, you better be ordering that shirt. Okay. That's my shameless promotion out of the way. Now I'll put a time code in here or whatever, so people can't complain. And if they do complain, I'll just remove the comment. I don't trust me, I'm okay with it. All right, Gilgamesh. Now, to the people, to the specific person who asked for this, I'm going to shout you out because Douglas, however you say that, 2002, Chief says this. Chief, can you, I'm not a chief, but okay. Can you talk a bit more about Gilgamesh? The Montanex's death is already settled, as it seems. No, it isn't. No, it isn't. I'm just going to shout out that it actually isn't. Until that last video, I had not made any kind of definitive statement about which character I thought was the absolute best. Now I have. Okay. So, and even then, there's a new vision card coming out next week, which could vastly change what we're going to talk about even in this video. So no, it's not settled yet. No. Okay, getting back to it. Can I talk about Gilgamesh? Sure. Gilgamesh has been worthless, pretty much worthless for the last week and a half that he has been out. I don't even know exactly how many days, and I'm not going to bother to count. The point is that Gilgamesh came out, nobody made any, no JP content creator really made any content about him coding his success or how amazing he was, because he simply wasn't. Nobody had figured out a good home for him. Purifier looked like basic mediocrity, and Pure Spear, nobody did anything with it at all. That should tell you everything that you need to know about Gilgamesh for the last week and a half. Now, before I'm going to talk about what I'm going to show you today, I'm going to say that I am still fairly dubious about how actually good it is because it appeared only last night. None of the top guilds have been using this as of this date. And I think that with appropriately built teams, I'm going to basically say that until there is a lot more evidence, until I see it, this is all very dubious. Do you, just to make sure that that is completely clear, this to me is dubious at best. And anybody who says, oh, Gilgamesh is the best of every character in the game, no, he fucking isn't. And I'm just going to state that outright right now so that nobody misconstrues what I'm going to talk about. Now, Gilgamesh has finally, it appears, found a team, but it's essentially a team that he's only there to boost others, and I'm still not entirely convinced that it will be a good team in a few weeks, because the Wotive devs are already over calculating for the evasion thing that they have kind of created in the game. And so as such, yeah, I just can't state how dubious I am. But even if in Peachin's most recent video, which is the only source that I have seen of this at this point, again, leading to how dubious I am about this being that successful. Allegedly. I've thrown in every maybe word that I can on. He still put, most people are still putting Mont into the absolute toppest, highest tier, and I agree with that. Exdeath and Gilgamesh are placed in the slightly lower tier. I also agree with that. I think that Gilgamesh will have a really good spot. Now, the spot that he seems to have been put into is a team that looks like this: Venera, Riku, and Gilgamesh. Now, this also has Exdeath's armor or trust mastery, so you can get an idea of how expensive this is generally going to be. You also need 90 cost VCs. You need the FF9 VC, which is not available anymore, and who knows exactly when. FF9 is probably due for a redo, but I'm not going to say that because people are also get annoyed about, like, I can't get these vision cards anymore, which, I mean, if you really want to be meta, then you have to just get everything. That's how it is in this game nowadays. But given all of the limited VCs, I think that unless you were hardcore evasion already and you're willing to get both Gilgamesh and Exdeath, which is, you know, fairly high costed, I don't think that you're going to, like, I don't think that this is going to be incredibly omnipresent in low tiers, because it is a pretty freaking high demand build in terms of just the cost. So essentially, Gilgamesh stirs up a lot of matchups that the two evadey girls here have been losing a boatload. And this is the thing to me where, like, first off, they tried against a pure ice team, which they threw in a fire character. So I don't really terribly much believe in that this was really that deterministic. Next up, they try to get all shooting. Once again, I just don't think that this is really that impressive of a matchup either, but it did full win. Both of those, I should say, it did full win. A Light Veritas comp, which is just not meta at all. Light Veritas is still not meta. Sad, but true. Then you go into this one. This is the first one that actually felt like it might have some credence to it, because it goes up against the AC Cloud, Newmont, and Unicomp, which is basically looking to be a tier 1. And this composition wins against it. However, in the following matchup, where it goes up against Exdeath, it loses against this comp, which I have talked about before, of Luciel, Death, and Rekka. So is this comp the best comp in the game that you are looking for, Gilgamesh people? Absolutely not. I also think that it does a little bit of disservice to Gilgamesh, because if you look at it, he's not an evade character here. He's basically only being brought because the spear damage is something that nobody is really protecting against. And honestly, I feel like you can correct against this. Like, fairly easily. Again, I don't want to say anything negative against Peachum because we love Peach. But it does seem a little bit weird to me that this team 3-0s this just because of the addition of Gilgamesh, whereas before it was very much the opposite of everything that I have seen, and I have seen way more evidence, way more evidence, and only this one matchup where all of a sudden Gilgamesh's addition, all of the 3-0s, an anti-physical tank. No, I'm sorry, I just don't quite buy it. I think that this is just whatever is being run before without any pierce protection. And as soon as you start getting a monochrome of pierce protection, this will get dumpstered once again. Because that's everything that I've seen. Every other evasion team that I've seen go up against this pure light comp gets absolutely trashed in 3-0 style. So to see this where all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, all of a sudden it's like they're missing a ton of shots and they're just 3-0ing against what is essentially a tier 1 team. No, I'm sorry, I just don't buy it. It seems a little bit sketchy, to say the least, and I am going to be absolutely freaking critical. So, can I talk about Gilgamesh? So to sum up this entire video, can I talk about Gilgamesh? Absolutely. I think that Gilgamesh is still in a dubious spot, although he seems to have found maybe somewhere where he can be more successful. Do I think that most players will? This is particularly good for the general player base right now? No, this isn't doing what he essentially is kind of good at. And I don't think it's really fair to him because he's just stuck on an evade team. He's not an evade character at all. He's not being brought in to be an evade character. He's just kind of like a utility tool, like, you know, almost like, I should say, a hammer. And yes, that is useful. And yes, that is valuable, but it's valuable to only players who have incredibly heavily invested and are looking to potentially get a trust mastery from another character just to facilitate this team. Like, I'm sorry, I just don't really buy it all that much. So yeah, to sum up everything, really sum up, is this. The reason why I haven't talked about Gilgamesh is he hasn't been interesting. The very scant amount of information that I have seen here is not overwhelmingly convincing to me that he is great, and definitely not oppressive in it. And the fact of him getting shoved on an evasion team feels more desperate than him being on a really good spear team. I would rather see this character on it. Personally, yeah, I don't particularly like this evidence personally, but even then, I've only seen one matchup to this, and I haven't seen any movement from top level guilds or anything that really supports this. The last, even to just show this off, this is something that I have not shown in other videos because I was waiting for a bit, but to show off this picture, which was taken recently by one of my sources in the top guild, you can see what is going on. We are still doing the this all light defense kind of thing. And you can see the offensive on the other side. You can see what people are using at top level guilds. It's not this yet. So really, I am not going to say that this is what people should be investing in. Every piece of evidence that I've seen from JP is way more on the side of Newmont and XDev. Even then, it's not completely settled. Nothing is completely settled at this point, as obvious by this video. It's going to be still a little while longer. It's going to be looking at whatever comes next. that next vision card is insanely overpowerful for light and dark. If it's a 90 cost Esper, if it's anything that changes the conversation, then no, it is not decided yet. The only thing that is truly decided is that all three of these characters are like most new characters that come to Wotiv. Most new 100 cost characters that come to Wotiv. They are strong, they are powerful, they are characters that you are going to want to build. But as for them, Exdeath, to me, is still the overall most solid character that I have seen thus far, as he seems to be completely competent with Shreken and Luciel, two characters who are completely and totally available at all times. Just generally, like, that seems to be the overall best. New King Mont is next, because I think that he will have a tremendous amount of support, and great swords are way better than evade to me. And the Gilgamesh evade thing is noteworthy, but it is not, and especially right now, far from proven. And even then, I just don't think it's going to be there for that long, because evade was already looking incredibly shaky before this came out. And the idea that Gilgamesh is going to somehow completely revive evade, yeah, not buying it. So hopefully that has been helpful. Thank you so much for watching this. Take care. Go support AGDQ. Fucking awesome. Later.